Greetings to my beloved lecturer. I'm Angelina Thomas. My mentor number is 278387. Today I am here to talk about an interesting topic, which is that fairy tales are good for young children. Usually our mothers read us those fairy tales to get us to sleep. But why? Why is it important? The explanation is that listening to fairy tales before bed opens our imagination, which open our mind and export us pleasant dreams, which will allow kids to sleep peacefully. So, what exactly are these fairy tales? When we talk about fairy tales, I remember Cinderella, who is pleasing to my eyes. Are you interested in knowing more about fairy tales? Let's have a look at the terms of fairy tales. The term fairy tale appears to relate more to the amazing and magical environment or magical influences which contain fairy character in that story. Fairy tales are magical and inspiring, enchanting and full of learning. The world of fairy tales is one where love, magic and the success of good over evil abound. The beauty of fairy tales lies in this. The lessons that fairy tales inspire are fruitful, brave, helping others, self-love and most importantly, the victory of good over evil. This will make the person reading or listening to the fairy tales feels happy and have a positive vibes around them. Let's get to today's topic, why our fairy tales are good for young children. Fairy tales are beneficial to young children because they teach valuable moral lessons, broaden children's imagination and cognitive development, and teach children socialization. Firstly, fairy tales provide valuable moral lessons to the children. At every stage of life, moral principles are very important. However, most of the beliefs we have now as adults were implanted in us as children. For this reason, we must instill in our children the values we want them to have as adults. In this situation, fairy tales can help kids develop good morals. Moreover, fairy tales include appealing moral lessons that help young children develop their character. Our character is what defines who we are and what we will become. Some people have more fully developed some qualities which set them apart from others. So, building character in young children is very important. The character might have a lot of qualities, but the fact is that all the qualities are kind of interrelated. For example, if we teach our young children to be honest, it makes them more dependable, more responsible and more conscientious. When their overall character improves, it translates into success in all the areas their lives. Next, fairy tales help young children counter bad influence from peers and help them cope with difficult situations in this world. Fairy tales may teach us valuable lessons like how to avoid bad people actions and how to live life in love and satisfaction with our lives. Furthermore, fairy tales help to boost self-confidence among children and teach them not to be selfish in this world. Fairy tales usually further characters who play important roles in displaying self-confidence. These kinds of storylines will help young children gain confidence in the face of adversity. Then, since fairy tales often show the negative impact of selfishness, they teach children to understand the effect of being selfish and encourage them to be kind to everyone. Lastly, fairy tales have more moral lessons that can change their perspective of the world. Finally, fairy tales develop imagination and cognitive skills in young children, which will be useful to them throughout their lives. Also, that the children can use their imagination to learn from something they are being told and have not experienced directly. Researchers prove that when young children listen to a story from a person, they can later be able to produce their own stories. According to Piaget 1917, this ability to create their own stories leads to cognitive development. When children want to tell a story, they must first attempt to do it mentally. Therefore, by exercising the ability of storytelling, the children are developing their mental abilities and skills and working on their imagination. Then, fairy tales help young children to learn from something they did not witness, but they are just listening to their parents or siblings telling them about it. Therefore, they are using their imagination to picture in their minds, then even that they are narrating and learn from it. With this mention, we get to conclusion that children, by listening to fairy tales are developing their mentality and they get their thoughts stimulated. And finally, through fairy tales, they build in a mechanism of recognizing the reality of the fantasy. Finally, fairy tales teach children about socialization. Fairy tales can teach children about other culture and civilization, and therefore, fairy tales teach it that apart from its own country and culture, there are also many other people and cultures throughout the entire world. This can help the children to overcome the egocentrism and selfish thought which are very common at those ages, and make them realize that apart from them, billions of other people live on this planet and that hundreds of other nations exist apart from their own. Moreover, fairy tales generally can become a tool of society to teach children socialization and enroll children in our society. Fairy tales show another world, but they still pay attention to moral laws of character and virtue. For example, by telling us stories about ugly beasts become a beautiful princess, bad men turning to stone, and good men returning to flesh, they maintain moral truths whose ultimate claims to normality of this world. Before I end my speech, let's have a look at Albert Einstein's words. He says that if you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to become more intelligent, read them more fairy tales. Albert Einstein considered fairy tales important because they stimulate the imagination. He most definitely believed in using one's imagination. He said, imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating process and giving birth to evolution. To summarize, the benefits gained from reading fairy tales, it helps the mental development of the children and the advancement of their imagination, that they are useful tools for learning and that they teach basic moral laws, and finally they can help young children with their enrollment in the society. That's all for me. Thank you.